So hello and welcome to the Happiness Telesummit. My name is Erica Glessing and I am your host. I'm setting the energy of this telesummit on activating happiness. So I've really asked these fabulous people to come and play with you and me as we just get deeper and deeper into happiness. So welcome today. I have the most beautiful Nirmada.
Hello.
Yay! And we're excited. Our book is just out. In fact, this is something hardly anyone has seen. This is the first proof, so it's just coming out. You can get it on Amazon now. And our author, Nirmada, wrote this beautiful chapter, and it is called, I'm just going to hold it up for everyone. Now I have to read it backwards and upside down.
living without limits in your expansive new paradigm.
Woo! Living without limits in your expansive new paradigm. And she is just an amazing author, so I'm really joyful that she could join us today. Nirmada lives in a world of access consciousness. She does a lot of work in that, and she really helps people become a radical demand. And so you're going to really hear language in this interview that you may not be familiar with. And I'd like to invite you to not just listen to Nirmada, but to tune in to her vibration and just feel the energy of living in this radical demand and what that feels like. So, and we have some other topics that she's just brilliant about with relationships and money, and really we can go anywhere. So welcome.
Oh, thank you, Eric. I'm so grateful to be here, and who wouldn't want to have more happiness on the planet?
Right.
You know, and Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, who's profoundly changed my life by knowing him and the things I've learned from him, says the greatest way you actually can help the earth is to be happy and to laugh.
Wow.
And so, what if we could, through this telesummit, just get the whole world to raise their vibration and to know that you're actually contributing to this beautiful earth that we live on.
Wow, I've never really looked at happiness like that, and this is my third happiness telesummit. So I am joyful of that. You know, when you talk about being a contribution just by being you, you know, I think that really bears sort of repeating, because I feel like the people who come and listen to the summit, we are the light bringers. I mean, we are the ones, all the listeners. These are the people who are now bringing happiness closer to reality with the whole planet. So maybe just share with you what that means, like as far as just being yourself.
Wow, God, what a great question. If I would say anything that personally brings me joy and happiness, it's to be myself. And it's really an ongoing journey daily. And it's just like following your own knowing and knowing what's true for you and making choices that actually work for you while including everyone else. But that truly brings me joy. When I'm not being me is when I'm not happy. And that's not very often, but that's a great indicator that I'm not actually being myself.
That's just beautiful.
What if we could just do, I want to just say one thing. What if we could just create the energy here for everybody watching now, just to tap into their own energy of what that is for them?
Yeah.
And just allow them to connect to the earth and what that happiness and joy is when they're absolutely being them, and just ask all of us just to exponentialize that now, whoever is watching now and in the future, just to exponentialize that awareness, because I get that also grows it when you just become aware of what that is, and you choose. When you're not that, you can choose it by just doing something different, but being aware of what that energy is for you.
I can't go through these Happiness Telesummit interviews without being my Erica self. And I'm up against something right now. So I'm in this interesting space, because when I started the summit was in January. My energy was actually pretty different. And there's some things that I've asked for that are bigger than I've ever asked for before of myself. There's demands that I've been making of me that are greater than and it's causing a lot of shifts. And I'm in a place that's actually pretty uncomfortable around some of the changes I'm making. And I've been saying things like, okay, whatever it takes to change these certain things in my life. So maybe why don't you walk us through, now we're being in that radical aliveness, and there's some places where, like, I changed my number and I got a lot of freaking out. But Nirmada, I changed it back. It was like...
You changed your phone number. Is that what you're referring to?
I know that sounds like a little thing, but it was a really big thing, and I was working on this one piece of energy I was trying to shift. But then I just changed my number back. And so I'm feeling kind of interested in that, like, just symbolically. Like, when I go to change and then there's so much, like, flack or feedback from some of the beings in my life.
Well, I think that, first of all, change generally is uncomfortable, and that's wonderful because that actually means something's changing. It's
right.
And so that's wonderful. Who wants to be stagnant and stay where you are? The earth is moving. The world is moving. Things are changing. The energy on this planet is changing. Consciousness and the people who are choosing consciousness are becoming the dominant species on this planet. So you're either going with the creative edge of that or you're not. And when you're on the creative edge of that, there is nothing comfortable about it. However, you can have ease with not being comfortable, or you can be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's just a matter of a choice, you know. And for me, I love change. And to me, that's the funnest thing ever, is to constantly change. And so that brings me joy. And I think it's just a muscle you build of getting used to things changing where it's out of control. It's not, it's where you're actually creating 5-10 seconds at a time. That's really what it's about, because nothing is ever, things are always moving and changing. And if you don't move with them, you know, what are you actually creating? As far as your changing your number, I would say 2 things. I have a question for you and also a comment. I'll say the comment first. One is, if you know something is true for you, and that's your demand actually of you, then being true to that regardless of what anybody else chooses or says, it's not relevant. And the other thing is, you know, what was the reason for changing it? Were you trying to run away from something? Were you trying to do something that wasn't working for you, and rather than dealing with it, you changed it, or you just wanted to change it?
I was pre-paving for a new environment and situation that I'm creating.
So you're aware, and you're choosing based on your awareness. How's it get better than that? It's amazing. You know what? Who cares what other people have to say about the choices you make? It's not actually relevant. And that's the thing. That's what I talk about in my chapter in your expansion book, is being the radical demand for yourself, and never, well, it's never being stopped by anyone or anything, including yourself. You don't let other people's judgments or points of views stop you, because they're actually not real. What's real is what your awareness is. And you just talked about, you're aware of the future and what's required for creating that. And only you know what that is.
You know? I love it. Thank you so much. And, you know, when I throw out, like, things from my own life, I think what I'm saying to people who are listening is, what's really exciting about this happiness work is you do start getting visions of places and things and times that you can be and experiences you can have, and you've never asked for that before. And I really feel like in this activation of happiness, there's a bigger ask. There's like a bigger knowing. There's more doors start showing up, more opportunities start happening. And then maybe just walk us into that. Like, what kinds of questions could we ask daily to be in this generative place?
Well, I would say, for one, when you wake up in the morning, just ask for something beautiful to show up for you. You know, universe, show me something beautiful. Universe, show me something beautiful about myself. Take a walk, put your feet on the earth, take 5 minutes to breathe into your belly. be the energy that you know is you before the phones turn on, before the world starts turning and asking things of you. What are you asking of you? And what would be fun for you to have in your life today? Because it's so easy to get caught up by everyone pulling on you and saying, they want you to do this and you've got to pay your bills, and you have basic things that are required for actually having a body on this planet. And it's really easy to lose track of what's actually under that, which is like our innate capacity to actually be happy and to actually be expansive. That's who we really are. That's actually what I've found in my own life, is that's actually where the ease is. When you're just being you, there's no effort, there's no force. It's just a level of this inflow of receiving, and that's where you can create from.
So let's throw you a difficult situation for fun. Okay. Let's say someone is going through a time in their life where, let me just tune in to what I'm feeling from the audience. So what I'm getting is kind of an interesting experience, and I haven't gotten this very often, so that's very interesting. I'm getting, that's easy for Nirmada. She's this. How do I start embodying that calibration of happiness? Like, I was seeing some people listening that are kind of saying, putting you on a pedestal and saying, but you've got this great business, you've got a great relationship, you've got a great place, you've got a great body. It's like I was seeing people wondering, like, oh my gosh, like, how do I do that?
Well, I would say, first of all, one step at a time. And, on any pedestal, I'm actually making choices every day. And sometimes they work really well. And sometimes the choices I make actually don't work well. But I know that I can choose something different every time something doesn't work, by just being willing to be clear about what works, what doesn't, and making new choices. I think that change is one step in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. And that if you actually make a demand of yourself to be and do whatever it takes for the change to occur, there will be change. And it doesn't ever show up like you imagine. Sometimes it could happen instantaneously. Sometimes it may take a little bit longer. Just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. And now with the World Wide Web, there's so much information available, free information available on so many different areas in the world, that we have access, both through our awareness we have access, because consciousness is growing so fast on the planet, but we also have access, like physically access to information. So, it's a wonderful time to make changes.
I love it. Thank you. I got shown I should ask you about money. So why do people get so stuck on money? Kind of what's the relationship, money, happiness, having financial flow? And some of the people just really would prefer that money didn't exist.
Well, the bottom line is money exists. So I think starting by acknowledging what is, being in question. Questions are the thing that changes everything. Ask and you shall receive. So when you ask a question without concluding what the answer is going to be, you allow yourself to receive the awareness that will actually create showing up and actualizing what you're asking for. So asking questions like, wow, what would it take to have more ease with money? Or, wow, what would it take to have a lot more money? Or what I do to have new revenue streams? Hey, body, what would be fun for you to work? Your body has to go to work. There's so many ways that, and also it's looking at where you bought lies from other people about what money actually is. And I think it's really looking at where you bought other people's points of views around money, around finances, about what it is, how much you can have, what you can do with it, what you can be with it. And when you actually let those go and you go back to, again, the space of you and what actually, the viewers might be really surprised at what awareness they actually get about the capacities they have with money, or what their actual, really.
Oh.
One more thing,
Mhm.
a good question to ask too is what is my financial reality? And just allow the awareness and the information to come to you. It's an ongoing adventure of discovering what that is. It's not like, oh, now I've got it. It's done. It's no, it's you're living in, as long as you're on this planet, you're living and breathing. And I would say that money is a life force. It's like living and breathing. It's like the fuel for choices and the magic that you're creating.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight. That was really cool. The next question that's showing up for me is around recognizing. I think the term I've heard is sort of the rightness of your being and sort of the wrongness of your being. And I think I took a class last week where I was going through processing some of the wrongnesses, some of the things that happened in my life that were so. Um, uh, that I was doing some healing work around. And so I wanted to ask you to talk about a little bit about that self-judgment, that wrongness and rightness of being, and just kind of share with us a little bit of that.
Well, I would say that you're not alone, that that is probably insidious in our culture. It's something we learn through cultural and social conditioning. And that the best way to get out of it is just not buying your own lies anymore, that you are wrong. A couple questions that I put, actually one that I put in the chapter for the expansion
Mm-hmm.
book is that what if you could actually receive from every experience you've ever had in your life? And and from every molecule in the universe and from everyone in every experience, that way, instead of, shutting off that and not receiving from going to the judgment, you actually turn on the receiving, having more awareness. So a question you can ask is, wow, with that experience, how can I use this to my advantage? And it's not taking advantage of others, it's taking advantage of your own awareness. Because, if you stub your toe, you probably aren't going to walk on the same path again and stub your toe again. It's probably a pretty good, well, you might, but it's a pretty good reminder that, oh, that hurt. I think I'll do something different the
Mm-hmm.
next time. So I think that's one
Interesting.
thing. And I want to just say one other thing, which is that another question you can ask is, what's so right about this I'm not getting? And just allow, and you may not get the awareness right away of how, quote unquote, right the situation is. It will come at some point, and you go, oh, I needed to have that experience because I got this awareness of, oh my gosh, I can do this now. And it can open a whole new field of possibility and expansion in your life that you never would have had if you hadn't had that experience. So you never know where or when it's coming from.
Well, and even having said that, I'm gonna laugh because I had outgrown my last car, and I knew I'd outgrown it. It was a cute car. It was a Honda Accord. There's nothing wrong about the car, but with my kids, I'd gotten it because a neighbor had it. It was great condition. It was like an easy car to buy, an easy car to have. It was a really nice dark green with a sunroof. Like, it was a really fine vehicle for me. I'm not that into vehicles. And I kept feeling, though, that I wanted something bigger because of the kids, right? And I kept wanting something bigger for the kids, and I couldn't get clarity on what I wanted. And I was doing a lot of the tools and asking cars what was the right car, but I don't care that much about cars, so even the whole conversation was a little bit of a stretch for me. And so it was really funny, maybe not funny, but this lady completely came and smashed my car. She smashed it. It was like I didn't get hurt. She just came out of nowhere, went on the wrong side of the street, and just smashed my car. I didn't get hurt. It was so interesting. I sat there and I looked at my car, and it was basically a gone. It was like the car was now gone. And I went, I guess I'm getting a new car.
So can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Have you acknowledged that you're an amazing creator?
I got a really nice big 8-seater. It's also a Honda because I like good mileage. So it's like I got a really nice car instead.
So if you can acknowledge that you're a creator, like, and how amazing that no one got hurt, that your car became like a marshmallow, and you got a new car. So ask and you shall receive. You can now get more specific with the way you ask and the way you demand that the happenings show up.
Well, that points me to trusting, like, what showed up for me was this learning that I had that isn't germane to me right now because I'm not in a job. But every time I've outgrown a job, I have felt that I'd outgrown it. And then I didn't want to leave it as quickly as I could have. And so I look at if someone's outgrowing something, because that was it. I'd outgrown the life of that Accord because I wanted something that was easier, with more ease for traveling with my kids. And so it was interesting, though. It was when you feel like you are outgrowing something, how do you get that message more clear? Or how do you, I'm asking, I kind of feel like I already maybe know, but maybe just what's your insight on when you're feeling that push?
Choose, make new choices, go into question. Okay, so what requires to change here? What do I really desire? What's not working here? What can I do different? What can I be different? It's just making choices, but being clear. And sometimes you may not get clear. Sometimes, for me, sometimes I need to call a friend and say, hey, could you ask me a couple questions? Ask me this question in particular sometime. I know what the question is I need to be asked, but sometimes I just need somebody else to ask me.
Nice.
So that I actually, it's just, it's helpful if you have people who have your back, who don't have any point of view about what you choose, who are there for you to ask you questions. And you can be the same thing for yourself as well.
It's funny. I had one of my Telesummit interviews with someone I don't barely know. And it was so much fun to interview her. It was so funny because there's no previous knowledge of her. And so I was just this open, I think the way of approaching someone, like you said, with no judgment and just being in the question of them is really beautiful. So thank you for that.
Oh gosh, thank you. And that's talk about happiness. For me, being around people who don't judge is such a joyous, wonderful experience for me, because I think there's so much judgment on this planet, and that it's really if you tap into the earth, can you feel any judgment in the earth itself? Yeah, there isn't any. And so it's when you're around people who don't have that judgment in their universe, it's such a communion with the earth. And to me, that is the happiness, that communion with the earth. That's personally why I do what I do. It's beautiful earth. Gosh, I just love her. And as long as we've got bodies and we're in this life, we're on her. And so taking care of her is is part of my radical demand of myself, of
who?
For her. Of what? Pardon me?
You cut out. I didn't hear what you were talking about.
Oh, I said that part of my own radical demand of myself is being and doing what I can for the earth with my own awareness, and not being willing to live from judgment.
I love it. Thank you so much. There's something that you didn't touch upon that I'd like to just give you the opportunity, if you'd like to share, because in your story you talk a lot about relationship, and so maybe if you'd like to just share with us kind of your insights, and maybe also I feel like sometimes if we connect relationship and happiness, people put a lot of weight on, I will be happy when I have the guy, or I will be happy when I have the ring, or I will be happy when, or it feels like some things get tied up in that, and you've been able to really forge some new frontiers in this world. So why don't you share a little bit of your work and relationship?
I would love to. Well, first of all, I want to say that I have a book on relationship coming out at the end of May. It's called Love in the Next 10 Seconds, Changing the Box of Relationship into Living Without Limits, and I co-authored it. And it's really about creating your life 10 seconds at a time. And even though the book is about relationship, it's really about what are you choosing as you, the being, and with your body. And how do you have all of you and be in relationship with others? And so it's really about creating your life and your relationship moment by moment, and 10 seconds at a time. And really learning how to pragmatically do that. It's going to be different for everybody, but I would say the first thing is getting into question, like asking questions to get out of the conclusionary reality, getting out of judgment. Because if you're in judgment, it's really impossible to have like a limitless living and an expansive relationship. That's just my own personal point of view. And that may work for some people. That personally didn't ever work for me. So what I found is that you're actually not committed to anything other than your own life. And if you're in a commitment with another, it's 10 seconds at a time. So you're doing it moment to moment. And in our book, we very pragmatically lead the reader on a journey of how you actually can create that for yourself. And it's a lot of unwinding of the old paradigm of how things are done on this planet and really getting aware of what actually works for you, including the other person in your choices, and then having fun and enjoying yourself. Like, what's the point if you're not actually enjoying yourself? And the other thing is that the other person has to choose for themselves too. It doesn't work to try to control the other person. It's not what I would consider an expansive relationship if you're trying to control the choices that the other person makes. And I love that example of if you have a bird and you let it go and it comes back to you, then it's really yours. Like that energy.
Right. Right. One of the things you said I wanted to bring up and bring to kind of more focus for people, because that's a very interesting insight. And it was like a ball of twine and then the how the ball unwinds. So it was something about like, and an insight I had for one of my friends last summer, and she was asking me if an entity was stopping her from being in a relationship. And so she really wanted some clarity on what was stopping her from being in relationship. And the vision that I got was what you just said, and it was a ball of things that when they were unraveled, she would be like free to be in a loving relationship again. And so maybe just tell us a little bit about that, if you want to, if that's what you were talking about.
Well, there's so many levels and layers to it. I don't think it's a simple, 1-2 step. But what's coming to mind is that like social and cultural conditioning over lifetimes, you think that's what you are and what your choice is and how relationship is or how you are. But it's actually not true. It's just conditioning. And then you look at all the love songs and you look at the love stories and then you think that that's how you're actually supposed to be in relationship. But it's just a story. It's not real. It's made. And the people who are in those movies, their relationships aren't like that. But we think that that's some standard or ideal we're supposed to have. And then when we don't get it, we start going into judgment. So it's really unraveling all the things that are actually not true for you.
True.
And having tools and having really good tools that allow you to do that and being patient. It may not take place overnight. I've been unraveling stuff for years. It's an ongoing journey,
I love it.
So it's unraveling things and then having really good tools and asking a lot of questions. If you don't have a relationship, you might not actually really want one and you think you're supposed to. And things can show up in the most bizarre ways. When you're following your awareness, you might just like have that tug to go somewhere and you go, should I go? Should I go? Wow, that's so bizarre that I would actually get the awareness to go there, and you go anyways. And then you meet somebody who comes into your life that's an amazing being that you could have a wonderful, expansive relationship with, but it's not somewhere you'd normally ever go. I think it's really just following your awareness, but you have to be clear enough to actually hear your awareness. And if you've got, a lot of other people's points of views or judgments in the way, having some really good tools, which I know that there's many authors in your expansion book that have great tools. And also my book coming out, The Love in the Next 10 Seconds, has great tools for living without limits and for creating awesome relationships.
I love it. I'm so glad that you came and took this time to kind of give us all a little bird's eye view into the life of Nirmada. We're so glad to have you. There's a link on the page right now while you're listening, everyone, and you can go find out more about an offer from Nirmada. And I wanted to just have you leave us with, I just am having so much fun with your questions. So why don't you give us a few more like happiness generative questions?
Okay, so what energy, space, and consciousness can we in our bodies be to embody and to actualize infinite happiness now?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's, and when you're a question like that, you tap into the energy, even if it's for a brief moment of what that is, you turn that energy on at any moment or tap into that energy at any moment. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what's going on, you could be in a chaotic around you and just tap into that space. And it's just a choice, and it's so easy. That's the thing, and it's free. It costs no money.
I know. I love walking to a room and just changing the chemistry of it.
Exactly. Hey, can I talk about what my offer is for a second before we go? Is that
okay? Sure.
So I just wanted to invite, it's going to be a 3-part telecall starting in June about how to become a radical demand for yourself. And the first call is going to be about how to have more money, create more money, being the radical demand for that. The second one's going to be for how to create healthier relationships and better relationships, whether it's with yourself, with your beloved, or with anyone else in the world, with the earth. And the third one's going to be about how to create healthier bodies, and really about being that radical demand for yourself, what you can be or do. And so it's going to be a 3-part telecall, and anybody who signs up is going to get a complimentary copy of our book, Love in the Next 10 Seconds, the ebook.
Beautiful. So, and if it is, and since this is evergreen, and so if it's already passed, then you'll get the recordings. If it hasn't started yet, then you'll get the call. So what could be better than that? You'll either join the class or you could sign up for the recording. So how does it get any better than that?
Wow, and I just want to thank everybody who's watching, and like how much happiness can we actually be? And how much can we actually spread that out to everybody on the planet, including the earth? And like, what if, happy people were the dominant species now on the planet, everywhere? That's my question.
Awesome.
What's that going to take?
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Mwah.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Sign up for her class right now.